Hi there everyone, my name is Michelle Saunders. I'm the Workplace Health Project Officer with the Kent and Medway Healthy Workplaces programme. I'm just going to share some top tips and information with you about financial wellbeing. It's the 22nd of March today and the start of Debt Awareness Week, so it seems a really topical time to bring up this issue, and it's something that as workplace health advisors we do get asked about and seems to be a growing area of interest and concern. So in this short video, I'm just going to talk through with you what financial wellbeing is, how financial wellbeing links to other health and wellbeing topics, why it can be an issue in the workplace, what organisations can do to support their staff, and we'll look at some top tips that we could all use as individuals or share with our colleagues. Financial wellbeing has been called the poorer relative of workplace wellbeing, and it's often overlooked. That was something that the CIPD said. Maybe it's because it's a taboo topic to talk about finances and money, and yet we do talk about finances at work. Pensions and pay are discussed with managers or HR colleagues. They're a normal part of employer to employee conversations. So let's have a look at how financial wellbeing links to these other topics and share some top tips. I will just add one clause. I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not authorised to give financial advice. So if you do need a financial advisor, please make sure that you seek out a reputable and registered authorised individual. So, what is financial wellbeing? Unfortunately, it's not about being rich. It's about having a sense of security, having enough to make your basic needs, being in control of the day-to-day and being able to make choices that allow you to enjoy life. It's not just about pensions and retirement planning, although these are a key part of any financial wellbeing offer in the workplace. Financial wellbeing is also important on a national level. So in 2019, the Money and Pension Service was formed. This arm's length department of the Department for Work and Pensions incorporates the Money Advice Service, Pensions Advice Service and PensionsWise, and it's launched its first UK strategy to discuss financial wellbeing concerns in the UK. A financially healthy nation is good for the individual, for communities, for businesses and the economy. And the Money and Pension Service has 5 key areas which they'd like to make changes in at scale by 2030. The goals are to have 2 million more children and young people getting a financial education, 2 million more working age people who are currently struggling to be able to save more regularly, 2 million fewer people using credit to buy food or pay bills, 2 million more people accessing debt advice, and 5 million more of us understanding enough to plan for later life. The strategy was put together after reviewing large sources of evidence from the Financial Conduct Authority, a capability survey, the annual debt survey, amongst others. They held listening events across the UK and 600 pages were submitted by stakeholder organisations. So it's clear that it's a national priority, and although I'm sure some goals may be tweaked after COVID, hasn't the pandemic shown us how we just need to be able to deal with the unexpected and prepare for the unknown? So what's financial wellbeing got to do with health? As a public health officer, I'm quite used to working with people to help them stop smoking, giving advice about healthy eating and exercise, and delivering things like mental health training. And yet this diagram here, which is called The Wider Determinants of Health from Dahlgren and Whitehead, shows that actually socio-economic wellbeing, economic, environmental and social inequalities still can determine people's risk of getting ill, their ability to prevent sickness or access effective treatments. Things like poor working conditions, unemployment, poor housing, poor socio-economic background can actually prevent people from taking part in healthier lifestyles, making them more likely to eat unhealthily, exercise less, and have a lower overall well-being. So actually, financial well-being is really closely connected to all of our well-being, and as we'll see shortly, there's stronger links with mental health also. So just some statistics for you. You might be wondering what's financial wellbeing got to do with you as an employer or as an individual. So 11.5 million people in the UK have less than £100 in savings. Something goes wrong with your cooker or your car, it might mean for people having to get into debt to fix those problems. 36% of UK workers have ongoing financial concerns, That's slightly over a third of the workforce. So if you think about your own team, that a third of them could be struggling, that does bring it home. 9 million adults are over indebted, and 9 million people in the UK borrow regularly to pay for food or bills. 22 million of us don't have enough knowledge to plan for our retirement adequately, and 1 in 8 workers live in poverty. These statistics from Salary Finance, the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the Joseph Rowntree Foundation do just sort of highlight that it is a real issue. In addition, the Trussell Trust, the charity responsible for food banks, say that 1 in 6 of their food bank users are actually in work. In addition, 6.5 million adults in the UK are carers. They often suffer financial issues as a result of having to reduce their working hours or give up work completely. And another fifth of adults have been a victim at some point of financial abuse, that's someone taking or misusing their money or their belongings for their own gain, harming, depriving or disadvantaging them, controlling their purchases or their access to money. And it doesn't always have to involve a crime like theft or fraud. So, financial wellbeing and mental health. The charity Mind say that money worries have a negative impact on mental health, and poorer mental health makes managing money much harder. People with mental health problems are 3 times more likely to be a victim of an online scam compared to the wider population. So that's 23% of people with mental health problems compared to just 8% of people without. Over half of people who have recently experienced a mental health problem felt that online shopping sites made it too easy to spend more money than they could afford. And over half of people with mental health problems who applied for credit online felt that it was too easy. These figures come from the Money and Mental Health Policy Institute. There are some groups which are more affected by financial wellbeing, particularly around mental health. So that applies to people already in financial difficulties, younger workers who are perhaps living away from home for the first time or have less secure work than older workers, some BAME groups, people on low incomes, people in insecure work, things like 0-hour contracts or casual workers, disabled workers, and those, as we mentioned, with care and responsibility. And obviously COVID has added further to that through the use of the furlough scheme, which has obviously helped people to stay employed, that people have had to adjust to either reduced hours or lower pay. And all those things can have an impact on how people are feeling, the impact of COVID on people's mental health, perhaps leading to things like more online shopping to cheer themselves up, or spending a bit more in the supermarket to compensate not being able to go out and about so much. So 14% of adults, which is the equivalent of more than 6 million people in England, became worried about being homeless due to the pandemic, and this is from research undertaken by the charity Shelter. 24% of private renters had to borrow money to pay their rent, 18% had to cut back on food or skip meals to pay their rent, and another 12% cut back on heating their home to pay it. 38% of furloughed workers see returning to work as pivotal to improving their mental health. And there's a few other issues that we ought to consider around financial wellbeing. So it's not just about managing money, but there are other issues, including mental health, that have an effect on it. So gambling, for example. It's estimated there are about 430,000 problem gamblers in the UK and another 2 million people at risk. Imagine an individual who's perhaps got less than £100 in savings and is faced with paying a big bill. They like a flutter on the lottery or the horses. How many of them would take that risk and use their £100 to try and make that £300 or £500 for their unexpected bill? Several factors can put more people at risk of becoming a problem gambler, such as past neglect or trauma, alcohol and substance misuse, the availability of gambling, having peers that are problem gamblers, a history of depression, social isolation and low self-esteem, or being in a risk-taking job. It's shown that men and younger people are more likely to become problem gamblers. Gambling in the workplace is actually easier than ever before, perhaps where people have been working at home, so they haven't been able to be seen what they're doing on their computers or devices. People using their smartphones and having more online access. Workplace gambling such as sweepstakes and fantasy football leagues are commonplace, and obviously while they're just a bit of fun, they can actually be difficult for some people. Problem gamblers may have lower performance and motivation or increased absence in the workplace. It's worth remembering that not everyone with financial worries has gambled, and not everyone who gambles ends up with financial problems, but it should be considered as part of an overall financial wellbeing strategy, and there are excellent resources available from the national charity GamCare. In addition to this, we need to think about alcohol and substance misuse. Research from the CIPD has found that 27% of people say their alcohol consumption increased as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. People experiencing poor financial well-being might use alcohol or other substances as a way of coping with the stresses and strains. And then carers. As I've already mentioned, 6.5 million carers in the UK. Some of them have to reduce their working hours or give up work further, which adds to their financial issues. 1 in 7 workers have care and responsibility, according to the Carers UK charity. So these are people who are struggling to combine work with caring for a family member, partner or neighbour. And this can be a real challenge that support from their employer can help. So you might be wondering, well, what's this got to do with me? Well, there is an impact in the workplace. So of those 36% of UK workers that have experienced financial worries, 14.6% of those experience sleep problems. So that's how many of your staff might be having difficulties and not sleeping and then coming in to operate machinery or driving to and from the workplace. These people are 12 times more likely not to complete tasks. So there's a real evidence there around their productivity. And it links again to mental health and general wellbeing. If we're not feeling good about ourselves, we're not going to be very productive. People experiencing financial worries in the workplace are 7.7 times more likely to have troubled relationships, and that's not just meaning with their partner, with colleagues, etc. And they're 1.5 times more likely to look for another job. And I'm sure that nobody wants to lose good, keen, hard workers, those key people in the organisation who'd be difficult to replace, and the cost of having to re-recruit to jobs and the time that that takes, and the disruption to the rest of the team. These people experiencing financial worries are also 4.6 times more likely to suffer from depression and 4.1 times more likely to experience panic attacks. But the good news is that we can put things in place in the workplace to support people in these issues and help them to navigate their way through that. And some top tips for this, so tips to support financial wellbeing in the workplace. And we've largely placed these under these 6 headings. So the first tips sort of centre around communication, and in fact many of these tips can be applied to any area of health and wellbeing, not just financial wellbeing. So the first one is communication. Having open communication with staff and encouraging them to help around health and wellbeing, so consulting staff when changes are being made in the workplace, particularly if these have financial implications. If you have a workplace union, make sure you involve those discussions too. And just keeping that two-way conversation going around different topics will make people be more encouraged to speak up if they need help and more inclined to listen and get help when they need it. So leadership, really key with any wellbeing in the workplace, to have those senior leaders on board. Ensure that management are on board with the health and wellbeing initiatives, and encourage senior managers to speak up about their own experience, not just necessarily on financial wellbeing, but on wellbeing issues in general, as that then can encourage other staff to speak up. Education. Increasing financial education in your workforce through things like lunch and learns or e-learning, or promoting websites and resources. Having that sources of support available through posters or information on your intranet or digital platforms, and taking part in campaigns such as this week's Debt Awareness Week. Signposting. What help and information can you offer? Do you have an employee assistance provider? What can they offer to your staff? Are you signposting people with caring responsibilities to their local care support agency, such as Carers First, Involve Kent or East Kent Carers? What about people with gambling issues that we've just heard about, or benefit queries? So it's just worth considering some different sources of support you can make available in the workplace. Benefits. So utilising employee benefits through discount schemes, savings schemes, they can really support financial wellbeing. Could you set up a Christmas savings club to help people budget for Christmas through your benefits provider or your payroll system? Could you encourage staff to join a Give As You Earn or a Save As You Earn scheme? How inclusive are your social events? Not to say that you can't have some expensive night out. It's nice to remember what they would be like, isn't it? It's been a while since anyone's had one of those, but when we get back to work socials, How expensive are those nights out? It's good to offer a range of budgeting so that people in financial difficulties aren't put under further pressure. Do you offer things like childcare vouchers? Is there any hardship schemes linked to your industry? So some industries such as construction have charities they can work alongside. And what kind of rewards are offered to staff and incentives? And one thing I will add, it's really important to be inclusive and making the offers through the workplace open to all. So having materials available whether digitally or physically so that if people don't have IT access, they can still get that information in a physical copy. And being inclusive around workforce demographics as you think about your strategy, which I'll mention in a moment. Having that inclusivity. I once heard of a workplace who offered different amounts of discounts to their benefits provider depending on the job grade. So for example, the shop floor staff were offered a discount in Asda. The directors got a discount in Waitrose, and that caused real ill feeling because obviously there were maybe some directors who wanted to shop in Asda and have a discount. Or there were some people on the shop floor who actually were quite well off and wanted to shop in Waitrose or just by personal choice. So just making those offers inclusive and open to everybody. So strategy. The CIPD recommends that you have financial wellbeing strategy in place or have it as elements of your overall wellbeing plans. Over half of employers don't do this currently. When you put together your strategy, consider your workforce demographics. Are there particular groups in your staff who need special consideration, such as younger workers, recent graduates, first-time buyers or renters, people nearing retirement age, people coming back from maternity leave, or people with young children? It's worth revisiting your employee benefits as part of the strategy and see how these can be better enhanced or promoted. And then top tips for individuals. I think whether you've got financial concerns or not, it's always good just to remind ourselves once in a while. And this advice from the Money Advice Service is a really good acronym. So debt plan. So the D in debt is for don't ignore debt. Unchecked debt will only get worse and it doesn't go away on its own. Access advice if you need to. And we saw at the beginning that the Money and Pension Service is encouraging more people to seek debt advice. And the key thing here is debt advice is available for free from Citizens Advice and charities such as Step Change or Christians Against Poverty. So the E in debt is for explain. Explain your problems to someone you trust. The old age saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. Talking through issues can help you in dealing with these issues, and having a listening ear can be really supportive. If your employer has a counselling line, use them. The B in debt, be sure to get expert independent advice and use reputable sources when you seek help, either from an organisation, in person, on the phone or online. The T in debt, take control of your money and spending. Make a budget and stick to it. The Money Advice Service offer a really helpful budgeting tool. Save regularly and manage your credit. Plan. Plan retirement, home purchases, other big financial changes need planning. Seeking the right advice is paramount in getting it right and reducing stress. And I've just put together a few logos here of the different sources of support that are available out there in the area of financial wellbeing. So there's the mental health charity Mind, the Money and Mental Health Policy Institute, and Martin Lewis, the money saving expert guy, is a really key part of that organisation. They've got some great resources on their website. The Money Advice Service, they've got some great tools around making sure you're getting the right benefits, budgeting calculators, and so on. If you do need to speak to someone about debt advice, I really recommend Step Change Debt Charity or Christians Against Poverty or Citizens Advice. They're all there to give some free support and help. A few logos there from the carers charities in Kent. So Carers First, they support carers in Medway and parts of Essex. Involve Kent in West Kent and Carers Support East Kent in East Kent. And then also just bearing in mind the impact of financial wellbeing with mental wellbeing. Some great information on Every Mind Matters and from Mind in supporting our mental wellbeing in general. As a programme, we're really pleased to offer Connect 5 mental health training and mental health first aid. And as an employer, you might want to think about things from ACAS, such as having difficult conversations training, just to help you a bit more in bringing up these topics. So that's all I've really got to say about financial wellbeing today. I'm just going to run through a couple of slides about the Kent and Medway Workplace Wellbeing Award if you don't know about it already. If you do, you're more than welcome to stop watching here But if you do want to know more, just hold on for a few more minutes. So the Kent and Medway Workplace Wellbeing Award is commissioned by KCC and Medway Council, and it's been endorsed by Public Health England. We're here to provide free support to businesses of all sizes and sector in addressing their workplace health needs. So we'll work with you to help you identify needs looking at staff sickness, turnover, and if you need it, we have a free to use staff assessment tool. We ensure businesses have the right basics in place to develop a healthy workplace, and we support employers in making a pledge for their staff that meets the needs of their staff and their business. And these pledges are then put together and form a basis for an action plan for you to work through. So the award is delivered in stages. So the first part of the award is our Bronze Award, and that just is you making 10 key pledges to make sure you've got the basics in place to foster good health at work. That could take you around 3 to 6 months. Some workplaces do it more quickly and some take longer. It's just really flexible, and we're there to support you along that journey. Then at Silver and Gold, you make pledges in our key topics, which I'll come on to in a second. So for 15 pledges, you would be looking at a Silver Award, and for 30 pledges, a Gold. And most organisations take between 6 and 12 months to fulfil those. But again, that would depend on what you're doing already and how much extra things you want to introduce. And we're there to help you through that as you move along. And then for those employers that have been doing this work for a while, you've got it embedded in your organisation. If you're demonstrating that you're continuously improving that and you're being that exemplary employer, we can help you on towards the Platinum Award. And these are the themes of the award. So we've got absence management, mental wellbeing and stress, musculoskeletal health and screening, stop smoking, healthy eating and healthy weight, physical activity and active travel, environment and sustainability, and alcohol and substance misuse. So you might have areas that you need to focus on in 1 or 2 of these themes. You might want to look at all of them, but we're there to help you and look through those pledges and see what you might want to do and improve, benchmark where you are, and give you some food for thought on how you can develop in this area in your organisation. So through the programme, there's various bits of support available. Training and activities such as things like mental health training, workplace health champions training, and workshops and lunch and learns on various topics such as healthy eating, sleep, healthy lunches, etc. We're there to provide guidance on developing your policies for being smoke-free, for alcohol, for stress, for wellbeing. We have a members only access area on our website, giving you extra resources, helping you to fulfil your pledges, and regular newsletters sent out about current campaigns, events and training. And then we work in partnership across Kent and Medway with the local stop smoking service, delivering things like workplace health checks, physical activity challenges and sessions. We have health kiosks that are available to book, and we support with wellbeing days. If you do want to know any more, you can express your interest on the website, which is www.medway.gov.uk/healthy workplace. We'll then be in touch with you to send you a programme overview and arrange to have a meeting with you. In the meantime, that's about it for me for this little video. If you have anything you'd like to ask or have a conversation about this or any health and wellbeing topics, please do email us at workplacehealth@medway.gov.uk. Have a great day.